can never sit properly. You know that?
I feel the same way. I mean, this couch is a tiny bit awkward.
And we're back.
Oh my God. Whoa. Whoa.
And we're back.
Welcome back to Beyond the Signs podcast.
I'm your co-host, 𝐅𝐎𝐋𝐋𝐋𝐖.
And I'm your fellow co-host, 𝐅𝐎𝐋𝐋𝐋𝐖.
And today's episode is actually an interesting topic that we were talking about earlier in our past...
couple episodes ago.
Yeah, which is... Would it be better to be known as a videographer or filmmaker? Or what was it like?
Cinematographer. So is it... Okay, so I guess we'll rephrase that.
Is it better to be called a filmmaker, a cinematographer, or a videographer? That's the best way I can explain it.
Yeah, no, I think that sums it up.
And like, okay, so going with this because I always go through this dilemma every time like there is a gig that I need to do. I somehow end up calling myself a videographer when like people randomly hit me up. But I noticed that like for the more creative stuff, I call myself a filmmaker. And I do prefer the term filmmaker rather than a videographer because let's face it, anyone can pick up a camera and call themselves a videographer because all they got to do is take their phone or a camera and start actually just videotaping, and that's videography right there and then. But the actual beauty of being called a filmmaker is you add a level of professionalism right there, because not only are you recording the video, but you're also editing it. You're also thinking about the storyline behind it and all that stuff. So like to sum up this episode would be that. But definitely I want to go in deeper. And I don't know like what your opinion is about that.
Yeah, no, that is pretty much how you said it when you brought it up in the episode that we were talking about, that we were filming in the apartment, that when you talk about videography, you could be talking about a range of things. You could be talking about someone who is part of creation for a music video, a brand video, or just somebody, like you said, who, you know, sets up a camera on a tripod and just presses record. And when I think of filmmaker, the first thing that comes to my mind is storyteller and the concept of, you know, the story that you're creating. And I think that's so much more of an in-depth field on its own. I feel like it's a separate thing. I feel like you cannot say that somebody is a filmmaker if, you know, all they're doing is putting up a camera on a tripod. You know what I mean?
Right. And I think, okay, so let's dive in a little bit deeper with this. So, because if you look at any credit for movies, music videos, anywhere where you have a crew, you have people who are called out as a director. You have people called out filmmaker, photographer, and all that stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, yeah, like filmmaker is the sum of all that. And I feel like it's more of a 1 to 2 man show. And that really like shines where it's like, for example, like, I'm not saying like a low budget film, but like, let's say you know your craft pretty well. And let's say someone hits you up for a music video who doesn't have the budget, but like has the budget enough just to hire a filmmaker that like they can run the show, right?
Right.
But definitely when it comes to crew and stuff like that, you have your videographer who doesn't know, like, or lack of a better term, is just there to film it and understand like the story from the director's side of things. So I think that's where like it's okay to not okay, like everything is okay, right? But like
we're
that's
just talking
where,
about our personal preferences.
Yeah, that's where like the meaning of a videographer comes into play. Because in that scenario, if I were to be in a crew, I'd prefer to be on the director's chair because I'm the one telling the story. I'm the one who's directing how like everything should be composed, right? So that's where I feel like a filmmaker kind of shines the most, is that they enjoy the story process and the sort of the creative process that but they also want a hand of actually holding a camera and filming it because they
Right.
know how to like execute it, right? When it comes to that, also it's the editing portion of it as well, is that a filmmaker takes on that role as well. They don't just like record the film and like direct it, but they also have a hand in actually editing in the actual like production itself. And that's where I think like the whole term or title of filmmaker comes to play, because you essentially do all that, right? If I tell people I'm a videographer, right, it's, you better believe that I'm just taking a video of it and giving you the raw file. That's the bottom line for me.
Yes, and I understand what you're saying for you personally, but I feel like there are so many people out there who call themselves videographers and advertise themselves as market themselves as videographers who do the editing themselves.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But that's where I guess the terminology comes into play. It's like, what is the standard that people hear, right? And I feel like it should be flipped over, because videography is just one aspect of that creative process, right? While filmmaking is the whole ensemble of from like concepts down to composing to filming to editing to the final draft to like literally the final production of it. So I feel like our industry has like sort of like, and I feel like it's leaning into like trying to announce people who do love filmmaking into becoming like calling themselves filmmaker. Like rarely will I see like someone call themselves now a videographer, unless if one, they're a novice, or two, they just take videos and call it a day. Like I know like some wedding videographers who call themselves videographer because all they do is just take videos and they have someone editing at the end of the day, right? They really don't have like that whole like, oh, that storyline and stuff like that, right? When instead you go to someone who freelances as a filmmaker doing weddings, they're going to call themselves like a wedding filmmaker, because they sit with the bride and groom and like, but that's just the one side of it. Like, and then when you go into music videos, right, then you go into what's it called, sitting down with the artist, coming up with the concepts and really putting your hand in the project, rather than just like, oh, these are the shots I need to get from the director, that's what I'm going to do, right? And then like you have the whole other like side of things where it's like you go into corporate, right? I can't call myself a filmmaker. They look at me, they take one look at me, they're like, what the hell's a filmmaker, you know? Unless if like, of course it's like one of those.
What would you say in that instance?
So if it's like a big corporation, I call myself a videographer or a director.
Okay. Because it's easier for them to digest and understand what you mean by that.
Exactly. Because you're dealing with like I guess like the big honchos or the big heads.
And when you say that, nobody assumes that you're just taking video and calling it a day. They assume that you're making a whole video. They're
assuming, yeah, because I'm calling myself that director role.
So that's interesting, because it really, I guess in that case, depends on the environment you're in, what you call yourself, what you market yourself as, what you present yourself as. And another side that we didn't talk about in that is the social media aspect of it, because almost every, like 8 out of 10 pages on Instagram or profiles on Instagram that you would click on where somebody, you know, makes videos, like I feel like they have videographer in their bio. You know what I mean? Unless they're extremely cinematic with it and they have a ton of like, their style is very artistic and, you know, a lot of B-roll and a lot of like really cinematic shots, then I could see somebody having like filmmaker in their bio. But I also see a lot of people who either shoot music videos or shoot videos for brands or shoot videos for individual influencers or, you know, individual people, and they call themselves videographers. So it really depends on not only where you are and the type of environment that you're in creatively, but also obviously who you're dealing with and at what level you're dealing with people in, you know?
Right. And it's actually interesting that you brought up like social media with like, for example, one of it is Instagram, where like you can literally pick the profession that you're in. And I find it hilarious that there is a section that says videographer and filmmaker. And it just goes to show, because what is Instagram at the end of the day? It's a platform to post your creative, or just post pictures, or whatever it is, just post content, right? So they understand that there are a lot of people out there that call themselves filmmakers. Why? Because they produce films, they make it on their own, right? While like videographers, they just take the video. So essentially what I'm
not always, but it depends on who you are and how you identify, because some people might identify themselves as a videographer, but they also edit and plan out an entire shoot with a model or a brand or whatever, or company, whatever it may be, and they execute that entire vision. They edit it, they post it up and everything, but they still have videographer in their bio. You know what I mean? Like, where is that in the space? And
well, that's what I'm gonna get to, is that you notice, like, look at the people like carefully who do put videographers in their bios, and you realize quickly that in a couple months from now, they're going to change it to filmmaker. Okay. If they do all that, right? And I'm not putting any shame down, because like I put for a while a videographer, right? Until I switched it to filmmaker like years ago, right? But like, that's the whole point I'm trying to get at, is that when you first start out, right? I feel like people put videographers because they don't understand the terminology. Once they get into it, then they understand that, oh, I'm not just like a videographer. I'm a filmmaker. This is what I do, right? And you know what's interesting? I wanna actually challenge this, right? And I feel like this is something that I want to like hear more people's opinion about, but I want to hear your opinion about it.
Okay.
So if a videographer, so there's the term videographer and filmmaker. What about a photographer?
What about a photographer?
Is there a photo maker?
No.
You know what I mean? Like, because like, here's the thing.
Unless, I guess, you know, you develop your own film and you want to call yourself a photo maker.
But like, you see what I mean? Like, a photographer takes pictures while the editor edits the photo, right? So like,
no, not always.
Most of the time there are like people who actually call themselves photo editors.
Well, yes, photo editors exist, but I think most photographers also edit their own content. Right. They also edit their own work.
But most like...
Because you hire a photographer for their style, right?
Right.
You look at their style, you say, I like the way that this person edits. I like the way that this person composes their shots. I like the way that this person color grades their photos. I'm going to go with this person. I'm going to hire them for my project.
What if I told you that most of photographers don't actually edit their own photos?
I wouldn't believe you, and I would disagree.
You would disagree?
Absolutely.
Oh, we got to see this.
Yeah, okay.
Because like, I feel like most photographers, especially the really high-end ones, don't edit their own photos.
I guess it depends on who you're working with. If you're working in, truthfully, I feel like if you're working in a modeling or company or brand shoot in like a studio, say, and you have one guy shooting the models or shooting the product or shooting the content for the brand or whatever it may be, in that scenario, you know, if that person works for that company or that brand or whatever, I could totally see them having a separate editor that the company who, you know, they work for also hired to separately edit the photos. But if you're a freelancer and you're being independently contracted for a job, that person is 9.5 times out of 10 going to be editing their own content. Right.
It's actually funny because here's a scenario where I was in where I took the photo but I did not touch it, and it's actually the cover art for a new song that a friend of mine is dropping.
Oh, I saw that. You
Yeah.
put that on your story the other day.
Yeah. And
Wait, so you took it and you
I didn't touch it.
You
I didn't
didn't
edit
touch
it.
it. Okay.
We just like the artist really liked how I take pictures, but his editor, he loves his editor a lot. So he goes like, all right, I want you to take the photo, but I want him to edit. I was like, you know what? I don't have to touch it
That's
afterwards.
wonderful.
Yeah. But you see, like
There's a time and place, I feel like, for that, though.
Exactly, but
that's
what
not in a lot of scenarios.
But it is a scenario, right?
It is.
Right. And I'm challenging you.
It's one scenario.
No, I'm challenging you because like you said 90%. I'm like, all right, we got to figure this out. Like, is it actually like, I want to know the actual percentage. And this isn't for me to say, oh, I was right. No, it's like, I'm very curious to see
same.
like, for example, like for sure, when you start out as photography, like as a photographer, you definitely like edit your own photos. But like, let's say you're like climbing up the ranks, right? For me, like at the position where I am, I'm not saying that I'm up there, right? But like, I'm at a point where like, I don't edit my own things anymore. Like I just have it sent out.
You mean videos as well?
Videos and photos.
Interesting. Well, I knew photos that you usually don't. But I feel like that's your personal preference as well. Like I personally, unless I'm doing a project for somebody where I'm not going to be using it for my own personal purposes and it's just for the client and it's just for that person who paid me to do a job for them, I have no problem just handing them, you know, the unedited photos if that's their preference, if that's what they request, if that's what they want. But I feel like a lot of the things that I get hired for personally are because people see my style of work and they see the way that I edit, and that's what they hire me for. You know what I mean? And that's what I feel like if I went to go hire another photographer for something that I was doing, like I would hire them based off of their style, not just of their style of shooting, but their style of editing as well. Because I think that if you can edit in a way that's appealing and that's, you know, not too harsh and not too, you know, personally, like I'm like, okay, if you can edit well, then I trust you taking photos alone. Even if you're not going to be actually editing for me. If I were to pick out a photographer, you know, to hire for a job or something like that, I would want to see their editing first also, because I feel like everything in that way, like we said in past episodes, it kind of bleeds into the next. Like the editing bleeds into, like, in my opinion, in my perspective, you know, it shows a lot about actually how you take photos.
Right.
As well. So I feel like it's just as important. And in scenarios where I would hire somebody or I'm looking to hire somebody, like that's what I would look for. I would look for their editing style as well.
And not to tie back into the talk, because I know we like derailed.
I mean, it's not derailing. It's just going from talking about, you know, filmmaking to photography. They're all in the same realm.
That's the point that I'm trying to get at, is because of the distinction between videographers and filmmakers that we made earlier, photographers and photo makers are two separate things.
I don't think a photo maker is a thing. It's like, can we look that like
it isn't a thing.
It isn't a thing.
But I'm making it a thing.
So that's your point. You're trying to make it a thing versus telling me that it's already a thing.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. 100%.
Okay. So like when I tell you that 90% edit their own photos.
Or no, I want to see the statistics of that for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to make photo maker a thing.
Okay.
Hey, hi, my name is Almar. I'm a photo maker.
Like what? What do you edit on?
Photomaker.
Visco.
No.
Can I see your Visco page?
Visco? Is Visco still a thing?
I have no idea, bro.
I've never used it, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's what I would use in high school before I learned how to use Lightroom. Yeah.
So it's an old program.
I mean, it's still around. It's an app on your phone.
Oh.
It's just what like normal people use who don't take like professional photos, you know? Someone who takes a photo on their iPhone.
Just know normal people use Visco. No, please don't use Visco.
No.
Please.
Yeah.
But honestly, that's all I have for the topic of videography.
I mean, I guess we didn't really like go like too crazy into,
because I feel like
videography versus filmmaking or cinematography.
Because I feel like it's kind of like already like stated, like what, like, I'm not saying that I made the terms, but like by the definitions that I've said, it's kind of clear cut, like what is a videographer and what is a filmmaker.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think they're two separate things, but at the same time, I don't think they're the same thing.
Yeah. We always say, everything bleeds into the next, but at the same time, there are layers to it.
Exactly. So a filmmaker can be a videographer, but a videographer can't be a filmmaker.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
All right.
So that's first time in this episode.
First time. I thought we agree on most things, but there's something.
I said in this episode.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. Like most things.
Yeah,
like,
most things we do actually agree on. I end up agreeing with you on a lot of topics, but this one we found our places in here, and we found our different varying perspectives. Right? Except for Photomaker, that's just simply not a thing.
I'm definitely.
And if it is, it shouldn't be. I'm
definitely making hashtag Photomaker.
Oh,
I'm gonna search up hashtag Photomakers, but we gotta definitely see the statistics.
Okay, let's bring it up in the next episode.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
And I guess with that being said, thank you for watching. If you liked what we talked about, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification to know when we do post, and also our social proofs up here: Instagram, Twitter, and the Facebook.
The beloved Facebook.
You know, I recently went on Facebook and like...
Did you?
Honestly, I was like, ugh. What's wrong with Facebook?
Facebook is a scary place, to be honest.
Yeah.
I try to stay away from it when possible, except for going on the Beyond the Science Facebook page.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And with that being said, if you hit on Kira's face, there's a video up there, and on my face there's also another video just to see past episodes. And with that being said, thank you all, and see you all next time.
See ya. Toodaloos. Every time.